Welcome to Digital to Foot Traffic. I am Kevin Shi.
And I am Scott Jensen. We are digital marketers with massive experience in running brick-and-mortar stores.
Join us each episode as we explore the latest digital marketing trends and uncover strategies from the best in the industry. Welcome to another episode of Digital to Foot Traffic. I'm your host, Kevin Shi. And today I'm by myself in the beautiful island of Bali. I'm here for about 2 weeks. And I got a very special guest with me today. His name is Rob Madsen from Canadian Mini Storage. Is that the name? Or that's the name, right?
Oh, no, wait. We're Canadian Mini Storage, but we operate under the Ulock Mini Storage brand in Canada. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, very, very good to have you on our show, Rob.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. And not quite Bali, but it's Vancouver, Canada, so it's pretty gorgeous too.
So some history about ourselves. Me and Rob goes about 7 or 8 years when I started going to the storage convention. So although I do this podcast, my full-time business is SC Storage. I run a mini storage in Hong Kong, and I go to these storage conventions. That's how I met him. I mean, Rob is a great host. We party a lot, and we exchange a lot of information. But the thing that surprised me with Rob is although he's more like a second generation, but he does everything. I mean, you've been doing this since you were a teenager, and you does everything from development to marketing to HR. So you're a full storage guy. And every time I post something on Facebook about questions pretty technical, you seem to have the best answer. So I'm very impressed at your wealth of knowledge about storage. Or you just been following those ISS video CDs and you just copying off of them. What's the story, man?
No, you know what? There's a bit about that, and you know, I grew up in the business, so I grew up. I think it was like child labor. Probably broke some child labor laws because I don't even think I was barely out of my diapers. So my parents used to bring me to the storage facility quite a bit, and definitely in the summer. So you know, a lot of my life I've been eating and breathing and sleeping self-storage, all sort of just by growing up in it. So it's just the natural way. And
you ever thought of diverging outside of storage ever, like when you were younger, or like doing something else?
For sure. You know what? Actually, I would say most of as much as I was brought into it, and it was sort of like second nature, and I grew up in it.
Yeah.
A lot of the early jobs that I had as well, though, were outside of the industry. So I was doing tons of different things. I did spend almost 10 years in the airport management industry as well after university. Yeah, so I was just saying, like, I spent a lot of time in other industries actually too. And that was actually great training background because, you know, when you grow up in one industry and you learn the ins and the outs, of course, you're learning them that way. Doesn't necessarily mean you're always learning different things that are learned in different industries that are evolving and changing and having different challenges. So when I went to the airport industry, I actually learned a ton and was able to bring that back to the storage industry. And I'm super passionate about it. So I think, you know, you hit on it. I'm always trying new things, always testing some things, learning and evolving. And some things work, some things don't work. And you take the ones that work and you have fun with them and you keep going.
So how many storages facilities do you guys have in Vancouver right now? And are you running all the operations? Do you have any siblings or anybody that runs with you, or your dad's still in the picture?
Yeah, you know, my dad's still he's still there. He's enjoying himself. You know, he's been in the industry for a long time, so he drops in and helps with different things. But he, for the most part, you know, he's out enjoying himself, and he criticizes the things.
I met your dad once in Japan. He's a very nice guy, very fun guy too.
And you guys loves storage.
Yeah, you guys have 3 facilities right now. I think they're really, really big.
Yeah, you know what? We actually have 6 sites now.
Okay.
So we've had
Congratulations.
over the years. Yeah, well, thank you. Over the years, we've developed and managed and owned and built many sites. We also then sold a bunch of them as we restructured.
Okay.
So yeah, I know we've got 6 really large sites. You know, we have sites that are nearing 200,000 gross square feet on just one site alone.
Okay. Is that considered big? Is 200,000 square feet considered big in Vancouver or in the West? Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? In Vancouver, in Canada, that's considered a large size site. But you know, times are changing because we're seeing a site that's nearing I don't know the exact number, but I think they've even claimed close to 500,000 square feet in the GTA or Toronto area. So you know that is a large site even by like world standards. That's a huge site.
But how much is that is rentable space, and how much is that is like highways? Like, I mean, the pavement and the roads.
No, you know what? That's just the buildings. That's at least 75% of that building is storage. So they might end up having over 400,000 net rentable. Now they do have specialty storage like wine storage and different components to obviously that's a lot of space to rent to just one traditional use. So that group is trying to do different things, tap into different markets of storage.
In Hong Kong, an average size is about 10,000 square feet. I have prior to my fire, I had 1.2 million, and I was the biggest in Hong Kong, second biggest in Asia already, next to Korat in Japan. So technically, that's maybe just 6 of your sites. So 6 of our sites were at over 500,000 net rentable. So wow, that's amazing.
Just in 5 sites. Yeah.
And how many customers would that be?
That's about 6,500 customers.
Okay, so the average size is quite big.
Yeah, average size is usually between 70 and 90 square feet per unit. Average size per site.
Okay, so let's get into marketing because this is what this podcast is about. Remember the good old days with the yellow page? Is that what you guys were using? And were you the first smart guy in Vancouver to notice, hey, the yellow page is not working, let's try the internet? How did you guys came through that phase, that yellow page, billboard, to digital phase? Can you describe that moment for us?
Sure. Well, you know what? So Yellow Pages was, our group started in the 70s. So Yellow Pages was where it was at. I mean, people didn't even know what storage was back then. So that was a primary advertising tool along with location. And, as we evolved, our family was pretty tech savvy. So we had, the very first old Apple computer and Atari game system and all these computers. And I think that sort of led us into technology a little bit earlier than most. And you know what? We actually, when websites were new, we quickly went out, we got a domain. We actually got the selfstorage.ca, which was the Canadian domains.
Wow.
We got that. That might have been like 1990, 2000, really early.
Wow. Okay. Are you still using that?
Oh yeah, we still use it today. We actually could have got some other domains, and we actually were like, oh no, we don't need those ones. And of course, they're amazing domains. But at least we had the idea to get that domain at the time. And for us, again, it was always trying new and different things. The internet was fairly new, and we were like, hey, let's have fun with this, right? Because storage is storage, and we like to have fun and do different things. And that's when we got the website going. But it's a funny story because you mentioned the Yellow Pages. Well, Yellow Pages is still, back in the day, that was like, you had to be in there, and there was a general feeling you had to be in there. And so as I stepped into the business and got more active in it on some of the bigger decision making, the Yellow Pages, it was a controversial move inside our organization to start using out of it. And I actually proposed that we drop our Yellow Pages by about 50%, thinking that's sort of a soft intro. And I was heavily criticized.
I hear this among a lot of younger people in the storage industry. But where Yellow Pages has been so traditional, I was criticized almost like I was crazy. It was like, wow, what are you talking about? We can't get rid of the Yellow Pages, and we're spending over 6 figures in the Yellow Pages, and I was quite convinced that the website was where it was at, and so the first time I proposed it, it was I was almost chewed out. It didn't go very well. So then the next budgeting year, I came back, and I came back a little more prepared. So in that budgeting year, I actually had 3 proposals. And so the proposals were, we can buy a bunch of Lamborghinis. And we'll paint them. We'll buy 2 Lamborghinis. We'll paint them in our company colors, and we'll each have one, and we'll drive it around town, right? And we'll have our logo on it, and it'll be awesome. And of course, I was criticized again. It's like, are you crazy? No, you just had a motive, right? That was just for you to meet some girls or something, right?
Well, it would have had that spinoff too. Well, that was my actual. Funny enough, that was my point. Was it's actually crazy for us to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in Yellow Page advertising
Yeah.
It actually makes more sense to spend it on these Lamborghinis, drive them around, and we get to keep the car still afterwards, right? We don't have to buy a new one next year. And of course, so that was me relating that's how crazy it is
smart
to spend on the Yellow Pages.
Smart guy. So I guess So at the very beginning, Google wasn't around, so it was just Yahoo and maybe local, Allocating and Excite and all that. And a lot of the listings were free. How were you allocating the budgets digitally?
Oh, you know what? So all we were doing, our biggest budget spend digitally was on the creation of the website.
Okay.
That was where our biggest spend was. After that, it was just sharing the website address in every possible form, and then also cross-linking, right?
Yep.
Go to other people who had websites, and we would do partnerships where they would put our link on.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was actually all built on this cross-linking. There were very few sites that where any reviews or anything were being garnered.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? We started so early that
really
it was
helped.
advantageous. Yeah. I mean, I remember going to the storage conventions and saying we have the website, and people again saying that's crazy. You'll never need one of those. And
you should get their website too.
Yeah, I should have made them a bet because things changed, right?
So I guess over the years, digitally has played a very important segment, if not the most important segment in the storage industry, as with a lot of different brick and mortar companies. How do you see the current landscape is? Do you guys? I guess majority would be search based. Do you guys test different mediums like videos, YouTube's, or social? How do you see social? Storage is obviously something you need, then you call, you look up. It's not something that you can generate demand. So how do you see social or videos or display come into play with in the digital campaign? Yeah,
you know what? We definitely love social media. I think we were an early adopter of social media before you even knew what to do with Twitter and Facebook, and it was. It was a confusing landscape because again, you would go to the storage site and people would question it. Of course, there was a time when the website was less than, like, we used to, when we track our referrals and our business, where people come from, for every year the website has grown. And I remember when it used to be single-digit percentage referral rate to the point that now it's our virtual location, and our virtual location on the website is more important than our physical location. It's outpaced it on the referral basis. So then it became a challenge, as it started to cost money to do SEM, to do with Yellow Pages dying. Yellow Pages actually should have gotten into the SEM business early, right? They had pole position, and they went the way of the Kodak camera and everything. But we recognized it, and so we started to use social. And we don't use social to say, come buy a locker from $10. We use social to just engage in the community and keep our brand fresh, and to feel like a person or people in the community talking about like what's happening. Great events that are happening on the weekend. So a lot of the times on social, we're actually more talking about other people, not about ourselves.
Oh, so you're talking about other companies, other stuff as a first person, but the account name would be like your ULOC store, right? It would be like a person talking about other things, right?
Yeah. We'd be talking about great fun events on the weekend in town, or we'd be talking about if we just saw something of valuable information in the community, we would share that, or free giveaways. Sometimes we see a great charity and we'd say, hey, you know what, we'll donate to that charity, and for every person that comes in, we'll give them a coupon to donate into that charity, or do different things like that. And you know what? What you're doing is you're personifying your brand in the community, so you become more than just a brick and mortar operation, and then you're adding value by sharing valuable things that people are interested in, And when the time is right, when someone does need storage, quite often they'll be like, "Hey, I remember that those guys are pretty good. They're great, fun people in the community. We should at least go and check them out."
So they do come back as customers, but the funnel is very high. So it's not like at the end of the funnel where they're looking for kind of storage. You're just making a relationship, create awareness now. Maybe half a year or a year later goes by, and then they'll come back to look for you. So this you do proper tracking. So this does work, right?
It absolutely works. It's a long-term mission. It's not so it's something that you need to maintain and keep going. You know what? It's actually a lot of fun too. So just from a fun, we obviously some of storage can be a little mundane. Obviously, it's great to see the rents come in each month, but it's just a way of actually engaging our community and having fun.
How many social accounts do you have, and is it managed by your staff? How many staff that manage your social?
Yeah, you know what? We have so right now we're making sure we have a Facebook location page for each one of our locations, and then we have our master Facebook page. Facebook actually has made it easier to do that. In past, it wasn't quite easy to do that, and now they're recognizing that having individual location representation is important. So they've made that easy, and it's important when you're in storage, obviously, because if you have a facility in your community, that's what you're trying to build. Each location is not garnering a lot of business, 20 kilometers away. It's really local based. So it's important that each facility represent their own page, and then the staff on that site help propagate and keep that feed alive. So we're just retaking advantage of that. When I did mention we experimented, we actually left social for a little while a few years back after we had a very successful run with it, just to dabble and determine the effects. And it was actually probably a bit of a mistake. So we've definitely re-entered it back into it hard. And the interesting thing is times have changed though too, because I find social is getting more and more important. It's getting more and more relevant, and it's a fun way of generating business. And the more we do on social, it actually helps our natural organic listing. And then, in many of our areas, we've actually toned down our AdWords or search engine marketing quite significantly, where it's almost not one of our sites, it's not even to spend over $100 a month. So, and yet our rankings are really strong and high because we have good relevance, and Google in particular is rewarding us for our relevance in that community. And so that's the ultimate goal, right? If you can really minimize your SEM and just do everything natural and organic, and in ways that are of value, that's what we want to be.
So let me ask you the big question about SEM. I guess everybody asks all the storage operators, how do you guys compete with the big REITs in SEM? You get that ask 10 times a day, yeah?
Well, and I think that's where the social and local aspect come in, because at the end of the day, we do have some areas where the bigger spenders come in. They might not even have relevance in the market, in the sense they can't even really serve the market we're in because they're not really there. Yet they're dominating on the SEM and the pay-per-click. They're paying to be there. It's making it expensive for us to compete. And then that's where we go the other route. We say, okay, well, let's still spend something on SEM, but let's make sure we spend a little hard in the beginning. But the whole goal is to get really relevant with our SEO and our social, and try and out, because the fact is the big guys don't have if their local staff aren't there, then they can't work the relevance of that local market, because they're just not in that market. And that's where we can win. And Google rewards that. They actually know that that's happening, where the bigger players are trying to just outmuscle with money, and so it works well in Canada. Canada's, at the same time, it's not as competitive as some of the other markets.
How many keywords do you guys have?
How many viewers?
Keywords.
Yeah. So on our overall domain, it's the number I last saw was around 15,000 over the cycle. Yeah. So, we do have a strong domain with the selfstorage.ca domain, that helps. But we do play around, like our SEM. We used to do our SEM in-house, and we had good success. But we always like to change and test. So we took it to the best of our ability, and then we realized, okay, well, how do we take it from where we're at and take it to the next step? So we've actually, since we've run our SEM, we've changed our campaigns from 3 different, or we're actually on our 3rd agency now. And every agency has actually helped us immensely improve our performance. So right now we're on an agency that has a lot of self-storage clients and customers, and they're helping us. It's sort of sad because I know each agency we've actually had good success with, but we're always saying, how do we make that next big jump, right? So, if you have success with an agency for a couple of years, it's like, how do we now take it to the next step? And sometimes you have to make a big change.
What are some of the KPIs? If you hire an agency for an SEM service, what's your KPI? How much traffic they bring? How much conversions they bring? At what CPA? So I guess those are your main KPI. Or what other KPIs do you look for?
Yeah, you know what? That's an interesting question to differentiate between campaigns, because I actually haven't found that, when we jump from an agency to agency, we have our old results too on what we did when we managed our own AdWords. We actually also have in our 6 facilities, not all 6 sites are on the same agency. We have one that one is sitting on a different agency because we like to test and see, again, always changing, always evolving, always measuring. And the agencies, there's not a huge difference between them. So we're always trying to drill down through the analytics to find why is, sometimes maybe something will stand out, like the conversion rate. And it's like, well, why is that getting a better quality impression group, or what's happening there? We look at that. But if I was to drill down to the numbers right now, I might be a little bit misleading, just because I'd have to have my analytics in front of my
Would
face.
you be happy if the guy can give you, just say, 50 customers for 100 CPA? Or would you be happy if the guy can give you 100 customers but for $120 per CPA? What would you be like? Which would you see more valuable? More customer but at a higher cost, or same customer but lower cost?
On my stabilized facilities, I'd want the same customer at a lower cost. Actually, on my facilities they're renting up, usually we plan a pretty good advertising budget, and it's really how fast can we grow it, because I know each one of those folks has a length of stay and an inherent value to us, and in many experiences their value is tenfold over the cost of acquisition. So I'm more than happy on a rent up to spend hard and fast, because we know that if we get a tenant in this month, he's probably going to be with us for the rest of the year. And that value is what we want, right? We need to get our cash flow up. So we want to spend hard early. So our cost per acquisition is going to be fairly high. But I also know that that's going to get us past our break evens, get us to our safe area, and then once we get stabilized, now it's the fine tuning. It's like, where can we get our next acquisition at a lower rate, or free, or more organically, So even aggregators, there's not too many aggregators in Canada. I don't like to use them. Sparefoot's not in the market. Our markets, we have the population. Canada, the entire nation has the population of California, but it's spread across a landmass bigger than the US. So it's a tough market for an aggregator to enter into. But what I like to see is, I actually don't want to use them if I'm stabilized, right? Why do I want to? I want to promote my natural organic site and get the acquisition direct. And, whereas if I start supporting an aggregator on a stabilized site, now I'm just competing against myself, and I have another spend area. So we try not to do that. That said, I've got a site in rent up, and guess what? We're using the aggregator because I know, it's worth the cost per acquisition, because I know tenfold is the value of that client. Got to get them in now.
So how long did I stay in Canada? Like more than a year?
You know what? The in self-storage, because we did have a portable storage wing too, but in self-storage, and you know what? It's well over a year.
That's more than US.
Yeah, it's well over a year now. You know what's interesting about that? I found that for the most part, if the economy is decent and not in a downturn, that length of stay has been continually increasing. However, in the hotspot markets where we've been aggressive on the rates, so where their rates are leading the nation, I've actually started to see a lot of data where the rate is getting to a point now where the length of stay is actually declining for the first time ever.
What's the rate now in Canada? How much per square foot?
Again, it varies hugely by the density in the market, but in our top cities, Vancouver and Toronto, we're exceeding $5 a square foot.
That's quite expensive.
Yeah, well, you know what? So yeah, a 10 by 10 is well over $500 a month.
Yeah.
But those are also our top markets, right? Those are our top markets. You can easily go couple hours out of those markets into the rural markets, and you will find yourself even dropping below the dollar per square foot. So
wow, the variance is a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty drastic. But you know what? I do find in the developed urban markets, I do find typically the rate per square foot is higher than what I see in the urban markets in the States. Some of that is just the makeup of those markets and how they've evolved. And it's really tough for a storage operator now to get into the heavy urban markets like Toronto and Vancouver. You really do have to be. You're seeing a lot of those developers are more institutional.
Yeah. You need a change.
Yeah, it's gotten tough. Even just the development cost charges in an expensive city can be $1 million to $2 million. You haven't even put the shovel in the ground, and then when you get your tax level, property taxes are extremely high, and quite often you get hit with those property taxes you haven't even opened up
yet. Which is good for you guys because that leaves a barrier for entry.
I agree 100%.
But let me ask you about your campaigning. Yep. I remember you have a few sites in Vancouver, and then you have individual sites. There are some marketing mediums where it's spread all across Vancouver, like TV, or like I don't know, like for us in Hong Kong, we can hire like the billboards of like 100 buses, right? So those are more like the entire city. So how do you assign your advertising budget? Do you like for me, for example, right? I would say 60% of my budget is entire Hong Kong, like TV or like the radio or all the buses, right? So I control that. Yeah. But I also have local budgets, like local different premises, where I give them like local SEMs, like mobile-based, location-based SEMs, or SEMs with where they put the street name or the area district as well. Those are local campaigns, right? How do you divide and what, can you classify what item is considered as spread across the entire city and what's considered as local?
Yeah, you know what? So in our markets, in the city of Vancouver and in our surrounding areas that we're in, we don't have campaigns where we attack the whole market. Like we don't dominate on the buses, the signs. It's actually it's super expensive. Like the cost per acquisition will exceed the value of the.
I think when you have like 50 stores, eventually it'll be cheap, right? That's a few years away.
That can definitely help. But you know what? I actually find that even on the bigger operations, maybe the public storage, the Canadian public storage operation, I still think actually the best effort is done around the facility in the local community, networking in there. Now, you did mention like sort of the SEM that is more geo-targeted or targeted. Sure, that actually makes sense, and devoting some of your advertising to the right streets or to the right developments or housing development locations in the area make a ton of sense, because that's your client base right there across the street. It's going to come in, so you want to be in their face, and you want to have the geo target plus the retargeting on SEM. But when it comes to how do you get in a city, and the problem too in a city is there's so much noise in advertising that I find people start to tune it out, right? It's everywhere. So it's sort of like, how can you stand out? I know for us, we decided to just have fun with our advertising budget. So we actually take our money and we don't do much in print at all, be it paper or billboards. We take the money, we make sure our site looks great, we make sure our website is prominent. We then spend our money on SEM and on our social media campaigns. And when you talk about social media, we actually look at community charities and community events. So last week we in one of our cities there was a major festival on the harbor. So it's an island-based city, or it's a water-based city. It surrounds a harbor, and they have a festival where businesses and organizations go out and they build boats out of materials prior to a race that day. So we enter that contest. You know what? The city almost shuts down for this event. It's such a big harbor event with these boats racing. And, so we actually take our team there's even been times we've rented security staff for our sites to monitor our sites so that our staff can all attend this event.
Wow. Okay.
And we build a boat, and then we use social media to promote it. Obviously, the boat has our branding. When we're racing, there's a professional announcer, representing our name and what we do. And I was proud to actually see my team. Not only did they have fun, they had a blast. They built an amazing watercraft out of moving supply material like wardrobe boxes. The boat won their race, and then in the overall grand final race, they came in second. And what's actually pretty cool about that is we had a lot of fun doing it. We spent some advertising. Some dollars helped different charities out at the same time. And we got tons of media play and recognition. I saw it on our local news station. There's tons of people in the community that see us come in second place, and they're talking about it. It creates a lot of buzz, and you can use social media again for that. And that's the type of marketing we do. We've got another festival where we're the main supporter of a giant sand sculpture on the beach. We get our logo in the middle of it. Tons of people are going to be taking pictures of that. There's a local baseball team that we are sponsors of, so we do first pitch and we get involved there. That's actually how we advertise. We advertise in fun ways, and then definitely we have Cops for Cancer that do a big ride and fundraising. We have different Rotary organizations do different things, and we actually end up doing give space and kind. We help all those organizations.
So the money you use for these charities is worth it. It's not too much, right? Like, they're not going to say, "Hey, Rob, you're a rich guy. Here, give me $1 million," or something like that, right? Because that's not going to justify your CPA, right?
No. You know what? We do a lot in kind. So most of these organizations need some type of storage space. So we provide a space for them to do their great fundraising efforts. There's one group that helps women in need who have come from disadvantaged or bad situations. We provide them space. They use that space to get these women who need help in the community back on their feet. And the great thing about that is that organization will do a garage sale at our site. They'll do different things. And, when I go to the site, I'll actually see these people who all help these organizations who have to come to our site to drop off these amazing supplies. So again, you're helping an organization do amazing things. They're actually doing the work.
And you're getting a lot of free publicity because of that.
We're getting all the recognition. There's no doubt we're helping them to we're helping them do what they do best, and we're making it easier. We're proud to be a part of it. Every one of our sites chips in different ways in each community with charities. And, I think it's important that businesses do that, and it's sort of our responsibility. But the amazing thing too is it also plugs us into the community, gets us involved in a different way. And that gives us advantage. It's not ultimately the reason why we do it. It's actually just a neat spin-off that we end up with great marketing, great relevance in the community, and a really great reputation. Back
to the digital marketing. I just got two more pieces. I want to pick your brain. One is email. How do you guys use email effectively in self-storage? And what are some of your some good pointers about email?
Yeah, so we
you don't spam people, right? You don't spam like a million people. Hey, come use my storage now, right? That's not the way to go, right?
No, you know what? We're very selective on what we do with our email. There's actually a lot of legislation in Canada on anti-spam laws too, so you have to be cognizant of that.
Okay.
So what we do is we have an opt-in, opt-out system. Obviously, if a tenant comes, we're getting their consent to email them. Past tenants, we maintain that consent as well, unless they opt out.
Okay.
And then we use this email. We send out a constant contact based flyer. Okay. The flyer is always meant to add value. So sometimes it's just talking about the hours we're closed for update, an upcoming Canada Day or something.
What's that school? Are you in the school? Because there's two schools in self-storage. One is, once they're in, get them on auto pay. Don't remind them. Right? That's one school. The other school is, no, man, keep on keeping a relationship. So what's your school and the reason?
Yeah, you know what? So yeah, we love to get them on autopay. We're big on autopay. Autopay is great. It's great to work on in their credit zone, and it's better on arrears. Plus, sometimes they don't check their statements, and it just becomes more natural. Yeah. Sure. So we don't want them coming in every time writing a check or dropping off cash, because that's a pain in the rear. Yeah. And then it might bother them. But you know what? I don't find the constant contact. We're very subtle with it. Okay. I don't find the constant contact as a reminder that reminds them of the payment. It's usually more of a value. So, we'll actually send a constant contact where we'll send it out. It'll have some valuable information about upcoming holidays or a different policy or something that's going on. Reminder that we have moving supplies. But it will actually also have a feature component. So the feature component can be like, hey, you know what? The local ice cream shop is doing a charity drive. We went and we bought 100 charity certificates. So if you come by our store, we'll just give them to you, and you can get a free ice cream today.
So there's always value, huh?
Yeah, so it's on us.
Great.
And you know what? And we're not only do we just donate to that charity, so they're happy, but we're also going to our clients or anyone on that list, and they can be a past client. They don't even have to be a current client. It's like, if you just come by our store, this is yours. Go for it.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, so Valentine's Day is February 14th in British Columbia. We'll do a rose campaign. So if you just come, if you might not even be a tenant, but if you catch wind of it in our social media or in our constant contact, you can stop at the store. No questions asked. We'll give you roses. Wow. You can take them home to your wife. You don't even have to tell her you got them from a storage facility. Okay. But we're there, right? We're there to help.
You're having a ball, Rob. You're having our ball.
Yeah. And we run different campaigns, like, you lucky would be some type of St. Patrick's Day campaign, or an Easter campaign where we joke about the Easter Bunny hides eggs with us too, or you got to have some fun with it and make it different, and it's very subtle, right? It's not hammering them on anything.
I heard from the REITs, if you send them like a drip campaign, like from the day they book to see your facility to the day they come. If you send them like one a day, it lifts up the conversion rate. It reduces the no-show rate by like 15%. That's one technique I heard. So that's something that's applicable.
You know what? That's pretty bang on. Now, so we're not as aggressive as the REITs, but I 100% agree that it's amazing. Everyone's so busy these days. You
don't remind them; they forget. Huh?
and so actually, when you remind them, they're actually like, "Oh, you know what? Thanks, because I got so busy. I didn't have time to do it, but you made it so easy. Just book me in because this is going to be done, and thank you for completing." So it's amazing how often that's the case. Yeah.
So my next question would be the website. What are some pointers that you have for a website for a self-storage company? I have mine. Let me see yours. What are some of the top 3 most important things you must have on your website for self-storage or like a brick-and-mortar store?
Yeah, so I think your website has to have some great visuals, right? We in our market, we actually charge typically the highest rate per square foot per locker, and so you don't. If people are calling, you want to make sure they understand that the product is really nice. It looks great. It's got a great curb appeal. So you don't want them just thinking in their mind it's like every storage facility looks the same and it's apples to apples. You want to make sure they understand. No, here's the amazing site we have.
So picture is number 1.
Pictures and graphics, absolutely. Fast loading, and I'm a big fan of having the prices online.
Really? So you're not pricing it, or are you like dynamically pricing it, but with the back end at the end?
Yeah, no, we actually, so we still manually set our pricing. We have dynamic pricing through our software, but it doesn't, you know what, if we turn dynamic pricing on, it wouldn't change anything because the prices will, I mean, they'll vary on the website, but we'll just put a notation in there that prices vary. So reserve today. But you know what, I think it's important, if someone, like if I'm online shopping for something, if I don't see the price, I'm definitely not buying it. 100% not buying it. But if I see something and it's what I want and all visuals match, so the great pictures and it's there and it's easy, well, guess what? I'm buying it. I mean, I personally was looking at products today where it's just the ease of like, hey, I accept the price. Maybe I recognize it's slightly higher, but I know I can get what I want. It's done. It's over. I can move on to my next other thing. And it's important to have that pricing on there. Obviously, mobile optimization is
both are
super
responsive.
Yeah. I mean, I see it on all my analytics how mobile is. Yeah, it's taking over. It's great that people use their own device and they're searching from wherever they are. I think that's fantastic. But you better make sure you load fast because there's nothing, if it takes a second.
A new technology called AMP?
Yes, I've heard of AMP.
I was on AMP since 6 months ago. Loads my page in 1 second.
That's incredible. Yeah.
And Google ranks rewards you for that. So that's something I think that's important.
Yeah, you know what, and so I think you hit on something there. To add to another point, we used to build all our own websites and hire a group and contract and sort of be very involved in the process. And what happened actually is we changed because we recognized Google's always changing. Google's always recognizing different new features, and we realized we better get on with a website agency that can keep up to date with that has a good relationship with Google and can make all those changes continually and improvements. So we actually went to a group, G5 out of Bend, Oregon. And so even though we're Canadian, we use this group just because they've really focused on self-storage.
They used to be another name. They used to run by another name. I forgot.
I can't remember what the other name is, but
okay. It's not wrong.
But they've stuck with it. And obviously they do, even though the site is a bit templated, I noticed that amongst competitors, the sites actually look different enough that people aren't going to key into it. And you know what, they're just on it. So, because I as much as I I loved it when we managed our own AdWords and all the different components. But as you grow, of course, you realize you got to stick with what some of the best things you do.
How many agencies are you working with now? Are you using one agency for everything, and you just measure them by KPI, or are you just having a group of different agencies managing different segment of the marketing for you right now?
Yeah, we still have a small group of different agencies. So we try to simplify by going with a main. We sometimes have others just so we can measure the performance against each other to determine the best practices. The social media component, we actually do all ourselves. We've taken that in-house, and it's in part because it really is better when it's locally done at the local site level, because that's the only way you're going to tap into the community, and that's an important part of our advertising campaign and how we connect. For
me, for example, it's pretty interesting. I like marketing, so even if they're better, I still want to learn. So I'm not going to give up everything. But I have a lady that specializes in SEM for me. I have a guy who specializes in SEO and negative SEO for my competitors, by the way.
Nice.
I have a kid. He does email marketing. He's not that good, but he's starting out at building his own agency. So I'm throwing ideas with him for emails. I have a guy in UK that does all he does is Facebook marketing for me.
Nice.
Right. So what I do is I set the attribution. I set what means to be converting, either by last click or even by assist, and I set the experience. So I make sure everything they say is under one experience. Also along with my offline things, right? So that's my job. I set the KPI, I set the conversions, and I set the experience. And I think as an owner, it's very important that you know what conversion is, because I've been screwed by agencies. They bring in a lot of irrelevant traffic and they want to charge you money, right? So
I mean, you know what? I love marketing as well. I've had to let a little bit go here and there, but obviously the social aspect is my big thing. So I love that we do that in house. But you know what? You hit a big one there. You know, I was just pitched by a marketing firm recently, and it's amazing how often you know, you get pitched by a marketing firm, you go, and when they start talking, one, the prices seem odd, like oddly inflated, and then you realize they actually have no idea what you do as a business and your product, and then when they talk about how they're going to market it, it's actually all wrong. It's not so unfortunately, you know, I was sitting on the board of different storage organizations and seeing sometimes what other smaller organizations do, and sometimes even large organizations do. You realize, like, wow, they are being well overcharged and then not well served, and it's a danger zone out there.
So what do you think? It is dangerous. So what do you think of the future? I think we're gonna wrap it up this podcast. Sure. But what do you think of the future? Any advice? What do you think to look out for in the next few years digitally, and how to market your facility for our listeners?
Well, yeah, you know what? I'm going to mention that I'm big on SEO and improving your SEO, because I actually think that SEM. The future of SEM is actually going to outpace any of the crazy absorbent pricing we used to have with Yellow Pages. It's
Google inflation.
It's you know what? It's going to be worse. You thought the Yellow Page was bad. This is going to be far worse. So you better start finding ways to market your site locally or through your own means in a very competitive fashion. I'm a big fan of having fun with it, though, and always experimenting, evolving it, measuring, testing, and changing, right? And, you know, so whatever works, keep doing it, do it better, and then always look for other things that, you know, the next thing that's coming and makes you reserve time.
One thing that I learned from the REITs is to tie lifetime value of different customers, and you segment those with higher, with higher CPA. Of course, the CPA for the works is going to get more expensive. But if you can narrow down that the average guy who uses an iPhone that wants a particular area, particular size, if their lifetime value is like, I don't know, 100% higher than the average Joe, then you can segment that, and then you can pay double as what you pay for regular CPA. So those are some of the things that you can combat inflation for Google, I guess.
Yeah. Go for what makes the most sense, right? If you can get that bang for the buck, and you know it's worth it, then So I definitely know your numbers and know what's happening in your organization on marketing.
Yeah, but hey, thank you, Rob, for this lovely conversation. I must say, I learned a lot from you today. I mean, you really know the market, and you know digital, and you know the business. I mean, a lot of the other guests I have here, they know digital marketing, but they don't know our situation. They don't know self-storage, and you know both, and it's really good to tie them in. So I look forward to see you soon, maybe in Vegas, one of their shows, if not in Vancouver.
Yeah, no, definitely, or maybe one day in Bali.
Please come, and we have a good support group. We have a Mixed Storage Creator storage group on Facebook, so we can always ask questions and help each other out. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, my pleasure. And I definitely enjoy being part of your podcast.
Thanks a lot, Rob. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Digital to Foot Traffic. Join our mailing list at digitaltofoottraffic.com for more of our digital insights and strategies.
Leave us a review on iTunes or your favorite Android apps, and subscribe so we'll show you the second we launch a new episode.